it? What's going on? Welcome to another fresh episode of TOMz here on SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Now, guess what time it is? It's a Monday afternoon and we're here to drop edutainment. Brought to you by SABC Education. Comes also grand.
Yo, I'm fine. Are you fine?
I'm super awesome.
Awesome stuff, guys. Let's go. This is the show that celebrates everything that's beautiful about our country. We want to talk about this art form called photography. Democracy 1994.
So namhlanje sibheka at the evolution of photography yala eMzansi, and we're going to be talking to some of SA's greatest photographers.
So why don't you take a look at what's coming up on today's show?
Let's go.
Ritutaka the history of South African photography. One of SA's up-and-coming photographers, Solomon Moremong. Rituta how resistance photography is South Africa from the apartheid government. Celebrate some of SA's great women photographers. We also check out SA fashion and youth culture photography. Legendary South African photographer Sam Mzileni. Photography is over the years, and what are some of the trends? Well, as always, Ributitselun.
Vie mo strate ke nyako tseba re lona le cover eng ka photography plemena magetsi guys. So ngifuna ungitshele ukuthi wena photography uyazi ukuthi iqale kuphi kanjani into ezinjani.
It's like photography obviously qale when technology vele started to embrace all these picture qualities and stuff.
I think maybe it started as a platform for people who wanted to express themselves through, art.
Do you know what's trending lamalanga ama photo?
No, vele kushaywa vele like ama photo vele like adventurous pictures of nature.
Isiqede kanjani photography when it came to apartheid into ezinjani?
It became the voice of the people, yabo, since vele you weren't allowed to express yourself or your opinions verbally.
Azisincedile ngoba no like ukhona ukukhumbula ukuthi yenzakaleni yabo in the past.
Anyway, photography is nice, but batla ka di pose on Facebook. Oh my gosh.
Where does SA photography come from and how did it evolve? As I'm going to the history of photography in our country.
Photography ifiklemo South Africa just 7 years after Henry Fox Talbot and Louis de Geer made their first photographic inventions in 1839. Jules Leger is believed to be the first photographer in South Africa. During the late 19th century, missionaries, anthropologists, explorers, lady traders, balabanka photography by Tlazamonaheng. Some of the first South African photographs are those of the missionaries Banabasabedisa Dinepe as propaganda to get foreigners to support missionary work on Africa. Native studies dominated early South African photography, with European anthropologists filming and documenting Mapelo Abatsbamo Africa to learn more about them. This movement led to stereotyping of Africans, especially Mazulu and Makhwaisan, and is believed to have led the segregation policies of the apartheid government. Kanako ya apartheid hula baqala ba le movement ene e bitswa resistance photography. Ibilaneng di photojournalists di ngata di qadile go nka dinepe tsa batho ba naha ya rona go gona o bontsha tselene ba phela ka yona ibilaneng hape lo ntsha nnete ka government le the way na hlekefetsa batho ba naha ya rona.
And uyazi ukuthi ama photographers amaningi ngalizwe inkathi bawahlukumeza, tortured, imprisoned. Abanye gave up on it, abanye did not give up. They committed their lives on exposing the truth. Nyawaza my heroes when nyawaza wakho? Angwazi wami? Let's go find out.
There's a museum in Soweto. I don't know.
No, I don't know.
But yeah, no, I don't know.
Alfred Khumalo. Well, Alfred Khumalo was one of SA's greatest African photographers. Uqale his career as a journalist, and in 1951 he became one of Drum Magazine's most famous journalists and photographers. During his career as a documentary photographer, Khumalo documented famous events in a treason trial, the Rivonia trial, the trade union activities of the 1970s, and the rise of Black consciousness movement. He also photographed and documented the Soweto uprising in 1976, a democratic election yokuqala yezwe lethu, and the inauguration of SA's first democratic government. Umsebenzi wakhe umela the resistance that saw SA gain its freedom. Konke lokhu kungabonwa at the Alfred Khumalo Museum, Soweto. In 2004, the SA government awarded him the Order of Ikamanga for his contribution to SA journalism and the struggle senkuleko yabantu bethu bala eMzansi. Ngiyashwa uKhumalo ushone ngo-October 2012, kodwa uzohlala khumbulwa njengelinye lamaqhawe ala eMzansi.
Kaja kulena batho ba bangata ba naha ya rona ba lokolehile ebile dintho tse dingata di fetohile. Re la ra tsamaya ra tjhakela a young up and coming photographer Solomon Moremong o re boleletseng about photography ya naha rona kajeko, so take a look.
Ke Solomon Moremong. ke tswa ko Soweto, ke goletse ko Shawela. Ke na le TOMz. Yeah, like a best friend kind of guy. I'm talking like from Khokholeng Khaka, you know. He went to study first, and then Abu atore camera, you know, lead film, so you know. So half the time, like camera you know. So I got attracted into photography because of my lifelong friend kind of thing, my childhood friend. What inspires msebetsi waka photography is like, you know, the way mother Teresa Tuzamba took a thing, you know. You'd always want to le improvement or contribution to you know. Basically meaning like I come across people doing various interesting things for different reasons. Sometimes when I work as a journalist, you know, as a photojournalist, you will follow somebody based on the good they did or the bad they did. So it's inspired by everyday content mostly, with the intention of you know, kind of in the best way that I can, and I hope my pictures did as well. With photography, you can serve the various industry various, you know, like you can, let's like media people, which are the Pampiri, the newspaper that is the magazine, you know, and you can do it for private companies, you know, for it's just company based. You can do it for research companies, you can do it for the government, you know. It's all about everyone knows the reason they are why you know. I actually get to shoot just about everything. The only thing is shooting aerial photography and underwater. And I get underwater, I swim with camera, you know.
But we thought about to learn more about resistance photography during the struggle, and then we're going to take a look at SA's photographer capturing the SA youth culture. Stay tuned.
Re thuta ka resistance photography mo naheng ya rona. E be re checkela Mike Mzileni, one of SA's biggest names in photography. TOMz. Listen to the TOMz mona ho SABC 1 Mzansi for sure, proudly brought to you by SABC Education. And as usual, we are celebrating our beautiful country and its amazing people.
And we as Gamz also going to be celebrating photography as an art form. So like in the industry since the birth of democracy in our country.
That's right. Pile radi papatsong re khone bua ka photography le hore it's all guy. And we also visited a young and upcoming photographer, Solomon Meromong.
Coming up next, let's go.
Re thuta ka resistance photography mo naheng ya rona. E be re checkela Mike Mzileni, one of SA's biggest names in photography. Resistance photography in ele kholo haholo ko matsatsing a apartheid. It was used as a tool ya ho lwanela ditokelo tsa batho ba naha ya rona. Hona jwanong a re tsamerlo ithuta ka borradinepe le di-journalists tsa the days of the struggle. When the National Party came into power in 1948, they vowed to enforce censorship on anything opposing their authority. 10 federal acts regarding censorship were passed between 1950 and 1959. This did not stop South African photojournalists Iblaning Babangata filming the hardships and events that were unfolding at the time. The Sharpeville massacre and the Soweto uprising, but it spread to the international media. With the spotlight on the apartheid government's oppressive rule, intimidation and harassment of journalists became the main censorship tactic of the government. The cameras in its film were confiscated, the cameras were destroyed, even the photojournalists babalahletse. These courageous efforts from our journalists and photographers who incarnated the nature of the apartheid government created an international call ho batho ba lefatsheng kaofela hore apartheid e tlamehile hore e fele.
One of SA's greatest photojournalists who was exposed to these horrific treatments during the course of his career was also oppressed by the government of the time.
Lebitso la hae ena ke Mike Mzileni. Ebile re mo tshaketse to find out hore photography ya naha ya rona e fetohile jwang, and also le tseba hore ho jwang ho ba bophelo ba hao mo kotsing during the days of the struggle.
Right now, let's go check it out.
My name is Ndumiso Sponono Mike Mzileni, commonly known or popularly known as Mike. I started photography in the early 60s. My elder brother was a photographer. That's where the interest started. With photojournalism in the newspapers, aguna go to unepit. Whenever they need a photographer, you are there. Whatever story is relying on this cut, you are assigned. So you were able to do sports, glamour, and in those days, politics were not what they are namhlanje. We were dealing with gangsters. You see, there were gangs all over the place. So you were also expected to go to court, your photographer, gangsters, and all those things, and threaten you with Bazoktola. You see, the story of June 16 has been told in many ways, but unfortunately, people khuluma nge-June 16 as ingathi into yaqala on one day. They don't talk about a build up to June 16. Sikhuluma nge-era ye-black consciousness introduced yiSASO, South African Students Organization. It was not a political organization. It was a student organization. Those are the people babe conscientize abantu. So a lot of things happened to conscientize abantu with the ilide with June 16. So when i-government iqala lento ukuthi bafuna ukuthi abantwana bafunde ngesibhunu, children were already conscientized. And nobody can claim ukuthi was behind June 16. He'll be telling a lie.
Halilimi la Afrikaans, lila English were made compulsory as a medium of instruction kodikolong ka 1974, baithuti ba batho began mobilizing themselves. Supported by the Black Consciousness Movement, balaba organizer a peaceful protest ka di 16th of June 1976. Thousands of students ba Soweto marched peacefully to demonstrate and protest against the South African government. Bana bala ba hlakana le maponesa a na le dithunya tse dingata who fired live ammunition at the students ba ba bolaya ibilaneng ba lematsa many protesters. Event ena sparked a widespread revolt and turned into a countrywide uprising. Dinepe tsa maponesa a ntse le busy a thunya on peacefully demonstrating students spread all over the world ba tshosa batho ba bangata and causing an international call ya hore apartheid e tlamelo hore e fele. Snape se tsebang haholo sa stopo sa Hector Peterson se nkilweng ke photojournalist Sam Nzima remains one of the most famous resistance photographs mo lefatsheng kaofela le kajeko.
Had those police allow those students to go to Orlando Stadium, we may not have had June 16. I was there. So after that, and about busy army, then they turned back. Then they started destroying anything is in Lilinia. Nami on 2 occasions almost got hurt because they didn't know Irolier to as press people, whether we were working for the government or we were partly involved with the government. So they were not sure of us. So what you see, it's only when we started being detained, then they realized, oh, we're in the same boat. The international community, the outside world, would not have known what is happening in South Africa if it was not for photography, if it was not for pictures. Everything that happened in this country, impact yayo, it came through photography. If the world, because that's the time when the world started focusing the spotlight Caesar on South Africa. If the world had heard some people were shot in Shabelle, that's nothing. It doesn't say anything. Yes, people were shot in Shabelle. It's only when you see the pictures that, hey, if on June 16, kids marched and they were shot, yeah, kids marched, they were shot. But it's only when you see those pictures that shock you. If you had to switch on your television, no pictures, there's no television. You buy a newspaper, without pictures, I don't think the next day you'll go and buy that newspaper. That is how important photography is. Photographers are historians. Pictures remain in people's minds more than the words.
photography at Mzansi is as diverse as our nation. One of our photographers focuses on the SA youth culture. Futhi alandele abantu nama-trends wabo as they evolve day by day. D shorty, obatshele ukuthi ngikhuluma ngani. Let's get it.
Paul Ward, one of SA's young photographers, started documenting SA youth culture in 2010, creating a platform la abantu abasha bala eMzansi can be explored, showcased and celebrated. Through his amazing photographic skills, he creates images that are able to communicate the language of SA urban youth. In 2011, uthole an award for Photograph Blog of the Year at the SA Blog Awards. In 2012, he was named Designer Indaba's top 50 most influential creatives.
Here re khutla dipapatsong re tlo bua ka fashion photography, re bua ka bommadinepe ba naha ya rona, and also get some cool career advice from our guest today. Let's go. Re celebrate South African women and photography. Ebe re botsa di guests tsa rona for some great career advice.
TOMz. We're back again, and you guys are still tuned in to SABC 1 Mzansi for show, and this is TOMz, brought to you by the SABC Education.
Lena ke lena le celebrating all things South African, and ka tla kulena re bua ka photography ibile re batla bona le hore dintho di fetoile jwang in the industry through the years.
So far sambile sabheka the origin and history of photography yala eMzansi. Saphinde futhi akhuluma nama awesome photographers in our country.
Still to come on today's show.
Check it out.
Re celebrate South African women and photography. Ebe re botsa di guests tsa rona for some great career advice.
The early days of the SA documentary photography were dominated by male photographers, but soon abantu besifazana found their voice through the images they captured. Asamensebheka are clockwise.
The history of SA documentary and photography is associated with Drum magazine. Kalongo 1951 and focused on black photographers showcasing impilo yabantu basedolobheni bala eMzansi. The only black female photographer ngaleso sikhathi esimaziyo uZanele Cethu. In 1982, the photo collective Afripex was established and included female photographers Jengo Leslie Lawson, Uzubeida Valley, Notoseni Muglia. Who are some of our famous females namhlanje? Uzanele Moholi identifies herself as a visual activist dealing with issues as njengentlugumezo, udlame and prejudice that the gay and lesbian community of SA are still experiencing namhlanje. Unontsikelelo Veleko explores the inventive dress, style and confidence of the born-free generation of SA, ekhule emuva ukuthi kuphele i-apartheid. Ithombe zakhe question how personal style and individuality are perceived in a postmodern African city.
Fashion photography ke ntho e leng hore kgale e le teng, and it's no different for naha ya rona. So how to o tlamele o lo reka di fashion magazines to learn about the latest trends and designs. Instead, you can just go online.
Namhlanje, every major fashion magazine in a website online. La ungaya, browse and catch up on the latest fashion trends photographed with stylized models and sets. Ama fashion show nama exhibitions are also photographed and shared online. Mhlawumbe ufuna ukuba yi-fashion photographer, ungani ungaqaleli iblog yakho. The Expressionist is the Tumblr of Anthony Biller, a South African blogger, photographer and artist. His photographs depict images of South Africans whose style expresses their own personalities. Mangabe khona okuningi ufuna ukwazi, you can visit us on our website on www.tomz.co.za.
What does the future hold for our photographers bala eMzansi? Somebody said kuluma with some of our photographers on today's show. Ukuthi bona bacabanga nge evolution of photography in SA. Nokuthi what should we expect from them in the future? Asambeni, let's go check it out.
Ngase future ya country based on photography, because everyone lately give photographer, you know, like the person probably watching this is already in the camera, you know. People are always taking pictures, so. In terms of photography as an art form itself, the future thing is based on the artisans. But photography as a form of expression is now open to everyone, you know?
Photography can be a wonderful hobby. It can also be a career. Rebutita our awesome guest for some cool career advice. So, iponele.
And almost in every university there should be some photography lessons, but there are those that are very, very specific. Which is, I know of the Market Photo Workshop where I studied, it's in Newtown. And then there's the Pretoria Technicon, of course. And then the school on Oxford Road, National School of Photography or something. That's the very basic primary way to study photography. But for those babang basa khonong afford, you know, or go higher basa understand you know, you can teach yourself by working with for a photographer. assistant photographer, because out of assisting a photographer, you can learn a lot in a space of 2, 3, 4 years and go start your own business really well.
I would advise people to go to school, but even if you don't have the money to go to school, that is not the end of the world. You can buy yourself a digital camera. You learn. Learning is about making mistakes. Mistakes give birth to experience. So you will never learn anything without having made mistakes. So you will learn, and if you are committed to what you are doing, you can even learn without even going to school, say photography. So the first thing would be to buy yourself a camera, and then you take it from there. The opportunities are there, but you must love photography. Ungayenzi because ubonus bani ayenza, because you somewhere along the line there's some problems. But again, I can tell you now, it's a very exciting profession.
Nyaz Bafeti, if you want more information about the show, catch us on our website at www.tomz.co.za. Or if on our social networks, catch us on Twitter and on Facebook.
I mean, who could tell us how an art form is only photography, the fate of a nation, could actually affect a lot of people's lives.
Yo, wow. Before we sign off, let's take a quick recap on today's show.
By looking at the history and origin of photography in South Africa. We celebrated one of our country's heroes, the late photojournalist Alfred Khumalo. We up-and-coming photographer Solomon Muremong, about his career, inspiration. Legendary photojournalist Mike Mzileni, career during the struggle, the Soweto uprising, and his courage to keep on fighting for our country's freedom. Some of SA's online photographers, including Paul Ward, who documents South Africa's youth culture, le Anthony Bila, aka The Expressionist. Hello, Rwano Batlotse ba ho hong hape ka show ya rona ya kajeko, hobane o sa re checkele ho www.tomz.co.za. And remember to check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. As we continue to celebrate our beautiful country and its amazing people, TOMz proudly brought to you by the SABC Education.
Only here on SABC 1, Mzansi for sure. See you guys next week.
TOMz. Vusi D, Tammy and myself, we celebrate SA film and television. Check out some of our country's award-winning films. Our film industry has evolved. The very talented filmmaker, Kholini Kiwe. Tune in to TOMz every Monday at 4 p.m. only on SABC 1, Mzansi for sure.